Hiya and welcome back to the Pinch Keeper. This is part 13 and this is to do with illnesses and checks really. Checks referring to just regularly checking over your birds and things like that and what to look out for. Now I've had to write a lot of stuff down because there's quite a few things to cover. First things I wanted to mention was I have noticed in some of the forums Facebook groups, quite a few of them actually, that someone's come on and they've asked for help. And sometimes they post a picture, sometimes they give you a little history or a video, and sometimes they don't. They just say, my bird is sick and I need some help. And what I have noticed is that some people have come, well, not some, quite a few people have come back saying, it's air sac mites, you must give them this and you must give them that, or it's a vitamin problem, and everybody's got the answer to these problems that they know absolutely nothing about. Now this is really annoying and it's not good for the bird, and for someone like me who's been helping people for quite a long time, and I'm sure quite a few veterinary places will probably be annoyed with it as well, because people are recommending medicines to cure illnesses that the bird may not even have, and quite a lot of medicines are quite powerful stuff actually. And by giving these birds medicines that they don't need can actually kill them, make them worse. Or even worse, if you give them one medicine and then you find out what is wrong with the bird, and then you may not be able to give them the right medicine because they've had the other medicine that they didn't need, and it will conflict. So they end up with two. Well, basically, they end up with one medicine that they're on, which they didn't need in the first place, and you're trying to give them something else. Now, when those two medicines combine as one, they become something completely different, and it may not treat what it's meant to. So it actually becomes a completely different drug. So there's just things to be worried about when someone's recommending drugs and stuff like that, when they have absolutely no idea. Now, for me, I like to make sure that when someone posts a problem about a bird, that they give as much detail as they can. We want to know everything before we even recommend or even try anything. I want to know everything. I like to see videos. I like to see images of their last stool, like their last droppings. It's no good putting one or two on there from ones before that. It has to be just a picture of one dropping. It has to be very, very close, which I'll probably show you during. Well, now actually I might put a picture on there now so you will understand exactly what type of photo that we need. It has to be close up so we get a rough idea or a very good idea of what we're looking at. The second thing we need is a photograph of the abdomen and the breast area, all in one if you can. Again, there'll be a photograph again, which I'll show you as an example. It's no good taking a picture when the camera is miles away, and then we can, that's no good to us. What we need is to get a little spray gun, put lukewarm water in there. It doesn't have to be really warm, just a little bit warm, but not cold and not hot, just a little bit tepid. And then you spray, gently hold the bird and hold their head out of the way because you don't want them breathing it in. So you spray from the neck all the way down to the vent. And then once it's nice and wet, you can gently move all the feathers out of the way, as in the picture I'm showing. And then you get the camera just 5-6 inches away if you can, depending on what type of camera you've got. If you've got a good macro, you can get right in, and then a very good quality picture. You may want to take several pictures of the stool and several pictures of the belly from really close up and a little bit distant, so that you can select the best ones to upload. Now, the better the quality of the picture, and the closer, the more we can get out of it, more we can tell you what's likely to be wrong. Now, we're not going to be 100% and say yes, we know what is wrong. We can get a better idea than just posting I need help and then someone recommending medicines. I mean, obviously, ultimately, you're better off taking the bird to a vet if you're rich, or if you're lucky enough to have an avian vet where you are, then you can do so. I mean, by all means. But if you're stuck, this is mainly for people who don't have vets or any money. So you know, someone who's at the clutching at straws, they don't know what to do. Now, this is all we can do, is trying to help in this sort of fashion. Now, I have to bounce back between the paper that I've got. Let's have a look. Yeah, it is a bit annoying when someone does that, because they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Again, videos of the bird in its environment would be really helpful. Again, it's no good having a camera too far away. We don't want to see a little blob just bouncing around. We want to be able to see the bird closely as possible. It may just be sat there with its head tucked in. It could be rolling its head round. It could be stumbling on the floor. It could be anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it is. We need to see it close up. Let's have a look at the next one. So we need a short history of the bird, such as has it been ill before? Is it the first time? Is it the second time or the third? Does it have like any kind of history? Where is it housed? Is it housed with other birds? If it has, and then you took it out and put it into another cage, we need to know. Or is it still housed with another bird? Or has it always been on its own? And that's what we need to know. We also need to know what diet the birds have been eating. Has the bird been eating? We need to know everything that you've given the bird, basically. You know, whether it's just seed, or whether it's seed and vegetables, whether it's insect, because we don't know if it's an insectivore, whether it's a herbivore, what type of finch it is. Not all birds eat the same. Not all finches eat the same thing. So we need to know. We need to know everything. And this isn't just for a particular species. The whole video is about all finches, so it doesn't make any difference. We also need to know, how long has the bird been ill? Has it been ill for a long time? Is it just recent, or is it just all of a sudden? Because 9 times out of 10, it won't just be all of a sudden. You probably find that the bird's been ill for some time, but you just haven't noticed it, and the bird's been hiding it. And to get to the stage where it can no longer hide it because it's just too ill to do so. It's a protection mechanism for when they're outside in the big open world. So to basically protect themselves from predators, because if they show any signs of illness, a predator will take them out straight away. So that's why they hide their illnesses. We need to know what room temperature is. It doesn't matter if it's in Fahrenheit or centigrade. That's quite important. So that's another thing, is the lighting as well. We need to know what type of lighting you've got. Is it light hours of day? Is it getting 14 hours of daylight, or is it only getting 12 or 8? These are the things we need to know. Also, does the bird stay awake at night eating? Is it eating properly? Is it eating too little, too much? Is it drinking a lot, or is it drinking too little? Or maybe they're just eating and drinking normally, but just still sleeping, and you can't figure it out. But normally, when a bird is sick, it will affect its eating and drinking one way or the other. Now, what I used to do, if I kept a bird on its own, I would measure on the drinker how much it would drink a day when it's healthy, so that when it does become sick and someone says, how much is it drunk? And you can't say, well, I don't know, because I can look on the drinker and say, well, usually it drinks about 5 or 8 mil or 10 mil a day, and now it's only drinking 2, so I know something's wrong. Or maybe it's drinking more. It could be drinking excessively. I've known birds to drink double the amount of what they would normally, and that's quite a lot for a little finch. The first steps to take if your finch is ill, or if you suspect there's anything wrong, you need to get it out of the environment that it's in. You need to set up a small cage. You need to set up a small clean cage. You need to put plain paper at the bottom, no pictured paper. You need paper which is actually plain. This is the reason for this, is because the reason is that if you take a picture of the stool of any of its droppings, if it's on a pattern paper and you want to take a photograph, we can't see it very well. So you need plain paper, so that when the dropping hits, like a white paper preferably, when the dropping hits, that we can see it easily on the camera. You want to avoid papers that are absorbent, like tissue paper or what they use, kitchen rolls and stuff like that. That's no good because it soaks the moisture up, and we can't get a true representation of that picture of the stool. Sorry, so we need. You can put clear plastic down if you want. That's quite ideal. And then you put a white sheet of paper under it, paper on top, and then you take your photograph. That's another way of doing it. So the next thing would be, provide seed and water only. So you don't provide no vegetables, no whatever, anything. This is because you want to avoid dyes. Because when you want to get stool samples, you don't want it dyed by the vegetables. Say, for instance, if you're giving them beetroot or beetroot leaves, it will actually turn the stools red, and you could think it's blood by just by observation. So you want to just give them plain seed, plain water, and you want to put them in shallow dishes. Don't want them very deep. Don't want them very deep at all. This is because you don't want the bird to drown itself. And you want both dishes on the floor where the bird can easily access it. And you also want to keep the perches approximately 2 to 3 inches off the ground. The bird may sit on them. It may, depending on how ill it is, it may not even make the perches. It may just sit on the floor. You can use underpad heat. You can use heating pads to put on the floor if you want, and put paper on top. As soon as the bird takes a drop, you want to get the paper out before it all dries up. What else is there? Let me look. Yeah, a 40-watt light bulb. You need to put a 40-watt incandescent light bulb, that's an incandescent one. It's the old type. Now, you don't want to go higher than 40 watts because it will cook the bird. I mean, some people say you can put 60, but I think it's too much. 40 is perfect because they can sit right next to it without getting hot. So, and you can leave this on pretty much all the time if needed. You can use these. They are incandescent, but they got like a foil around it. And what they do is they divert all the light and the heat into one direction. So instead of wasting heat out the back, it gets pushed forward. So you need these really on a dimmer. And I would probably go for like a 20 or 25 watt really on one of these. But you could use a 40 watt and put it on a dimmer, like a dimmer switch. If you know someone who's handy with electronics or electrician, they can wire up a small dimmer for you so that you can turn it down or turn it up. They don't want that getting too hot. Now, this one's a screw-in one, whereas I'm in the UK. This is the standard fitting for us, and these ones we do use these as well, but these are more American sort of thing. I mean, so to get around this problem, I use a converter, which has got our fitting on the end, and so I can put the screw into there, screw that in, and then I put that into a fitting like that. So then I can connect a wired plug and a cable onto there. I can connect all that up, and then I can plug that in the wall and hang that inside the cage next to the perch so that the bird can sit next to it or move away. But it doesn't matter which bulb you use, preferably one that lets off heat. Another one you can use is I quite like these ones. I'll just show you. This is a halogen one. Now this is a proper reptile bulb. It's I think it's about somewhere between 7 and 11 watts. I can't remember offhand. And these are really good. It diverts all the heat in one space. They get the vitamin D that they need from it, and they can sit quite close. Again, these can get quite hot, so they probably could go on a dimmer if needed, or just put them in the cage, but don't put it so that they can get too close to it. You normally find they will move away anyhow. So that's just something to think about. And again, you do leave the light on as much as possible because they need the warmth, and that warmth makes a big difference. But it's not a cure. It's only to give you a bit more time. Right, you need to make sure that the cage is located in an environment which is dimmed, not too bright. You don't want it where there's a lot of noise and you get like foot traffic, and you don't want the kids near it neither. People poking their fingers in at the bird. I mean, the bird's sick. The last thing it wants is a great big monster coming along and sticking its finger at it, or you've got other cats trying to get it or something like that. Get all that out of the way. You don't want all that. The bird needs to be left alone in a little room where it feels safe, where it's quiet. Some people actually get a damp towel. They soak a towel, wring it out, and then they hang it over half of the cage, and that keeps the humidity up, which is really good for the bird, and it helps with the breathing too, and it helps keep the birds hydrated. Now, another thing you may need to do is you may need to check to see if the bird is dehydrated. Now, to do this, you have to, excuse me, what you may need to do is move all the feathers out of the way on the belly. And if you can't do that, again, wet them down and move them out of the way. Gently pinch the skin together. If the skin stays together when you let go, the bird is dehydrated. It should spring back, as if you didn't even put your finger on there. Now, if it does spring back, the bird is not dehydrated. But you might find that this, when you let go, it slowly. That means that the bird is beginning to become dehydrated. So you can make some electrolytes up quite easily by using 1 pint of water, use 1 tablespoon of sugar, and half a teaspoon of salt. And I would recommend using sea salt, ideally. I would avoid table salt. I know some people use table salt, but I wouldn't, because they're two different things. And then you mix them up until they're completely diluted, and then you fill a small little dish, a small shallow dish, and then you leave that in there until, and again later on you will check to see if it springs back again with the skin. And when the skin does spring back, then you know the bird is hydrated. Now it can take all day. It can take sometimes 2 days for it to become hydrated again properly. So that is the most important thing. And you can't really feed a bird until it is hydrated. Now, if the bird hasn't been eaten, you may need to hand feed. And the only way you can tell is by feeling or looking around the crop. And if you can't tell, you may need again wet the feathers down, and then you can look, and the crop is actually on this side. It's on the bird. It's on the bird's right side, and if there's nothing in there, you may need to mix up some hand food. Now, there is a video about hand rearing. Actually, there's 2-part video that I've made on hand rearing mix and how to feed them and the utensils you'll need. So if you go back on some of my videos on YouTube, you should find out how to do that. So I won't waste time on this video on how to do it. But you may need to hand feed the bird if it's not getting enough food. And you can use the electrolyte to hydrate the food that you're making. So you're crushing down all your seed, etc. Instead of using plain water, you can use water from the electrolyte. So that way you're hydrating the bird and giving them a little bit of food. But when you do, don't give them too much food if they're dehydrated. You only need to make it a little bit, very watery, but make sure there's a little bit of food in there, but not too much. Just until the bird becomes hydrated, then you can give it a proper, a feed up if needed. Right. If you suspect that your bird is sick and you're not 100% sure, you may need to run your finger down the keel bone. Now, by doing that, what you're doing is you're checking for weight loss. So that the bird's rib cage should not be shaped like that. That's concave. That means there's no muscle mass or meaty flesh on each side. It needs to be that shape. Make sure it's not like that because it could be overweight. So it needs to be around about there. So you don't. It sounds stupid. I mean, you'd think a bird which has got a lot of weight on is healthy, but it's not, because they can't fly properly. They're eating the wrong foods. So you need to make sure you're giving them the right diet and make sure that they're not overweight or not underweight. If they are starting to lose weight, then you may need to keep monitoring that. But a bird can lose weight within a day. Really, you can lose it quite fast. Within 2 days, it's very noticeable. So I'm about to get hounded now by loads of starlings because I've put a feeder out, and I'm right by the window where the feeder is. Another thing you may need to do is observe the droppings daily. Well, all the time really. Every hour, check the droppings and see what they look like. If there's any changes, you may find from 1 hour to the next the droppings may change. You're looking for signs of blood, anything black or green, anything unusual. Again, it does depend really on the bird, but on the type of species. But ideally, you need to keep them on seed only. But make sure you don't use seeds that have got dyes in them like reds and greens. You want to keep them on strictly on millet seed, really, like a good mixture of millet seed. Red millet's not too bad. You can get away with red millet, but some seeds contain a lot of dyes, but you want to avoid all that. Right, another thing you're looking for is cancers and tumours. Not all cancers and tumours are cancers and tumours. They may actually be just cysts. They could be, there's a lot of things they can be, so you can't always jump to a conclusion and say that they're a cyst or cancer or a tumour. So you're looking for lumps and bumps around any part of the body, really. I had one with a starfinch. She only had one leg, and she was given to me that way. I've had her for a long time, for a few years, and I noticed towards the last 9 months she developed. You'll see it in the picture just above. This is a picture of her belly, and it started off with a little lump just below her rib cage, and I knew there was a lump there, and I didn't really know what it was. I thought it was an egg stuck, so I felt it, and it did feel like an egg. I've got to admit, it was quite small, and I thought if I give it some time, it will probably come out on its own. If I up the calcium, but I didn't need to up the calcium. She had plenty anyway, and it progressively got worse. And the vet said there's nothing you could have done anyway, even if you did take it in early. It's just one of those cancers. It's in a place that you can't really do anything with. The bird was too small to. It's a finch. You can't really operate on a finch not very successfully. So towards the end, it got bigger. It got so big that her stomach was it was massive. She couldn't sit down. She couldn't balance on her stomach. She kept falling to the side, and I'd done everything. It was a sad ending towards the end, and I gave it the best life I could. I had another bird before which had a tumour around the neck, and it got so big that the bird that couldn't eat, drink, and it couldn't breathe. And that bird needed to be put to sleep because it was clearly suffering. So you're looking for any kind of lumps and bumps in the skin, deep within the skin. You may not actually feel. It may just feel like a slight lump, or below the skin, and you're not sure what it is. So sometimes you can actually see the tumour, like I did on both occasions. So you may need to wet the feathers down so you can see the skin, and then move the feathers out of the way, and then you can get a really close look at the bird. You're looking at legs, feet, under the wings, around the neck, back of the head, on the face, on the actual wings itself, down the back, as I may have said already. Any part of the body, really. Around the vent area as well is quite common. It's usually around the abdomen, around the neck, and around the vent area. That's where I've always seen cancers or some kind of tumours. Cysts are quite common around the vent area and around the face. So that is because of the beak wiping and the staining around the vent area. So that's why you do tend to get a lot of cysts in places like that. If you're not sure, if you do come across something like that and you are not sure and you're a bit worried, I would take it to a vet. Even if it's just an ordinary vet, I'd still take it to a vet just to be sure. Avian vet preferably, clearly, so they can give you the right treatments and etc. and they know what they're doing. But some vets will look at your bird. Just because it's a bird doesn't mean to say that they can't treat the bird or look at the bird, but they're all still animals. I mean, I'm studying veterinary, myself, so I understand that all animals are animals. The only difference is a bird has a kind of their skeletal structure was obviously different, and massively really, and the internal organs they don't function quite the same. They're very similar to a reptile, so that's why you need an exotic vet or a vet that studies or practices in exotics, so they know exactly what they're doing. Anyway, I can't think of anything else on here, so I'm going to move on to the next bit. Next thing you want to check is, of course, breathing. See, the upper respiratory is very important as well. You may notice things like, just check, I'm sure I wrote all this down. I'll have to come back to that. You're looking for things like clicking, rasping, shallow or laboured breathing, or real fast breathing, if the bird is breathing extremely fast. If it's coughing, if the bird is shaking its head, any kinds of vomit when the bird shakes its head. They're all signs of illnesses that something is wrong. I will go into more details later on another video, not this one, because this video won't have much time for it all. But these are the things you need to be careful of. So if you do find anything like that, then you know something is wrong. Things you also need to check would be their skin, and you're looking for roughness, dryness, flakiness, rashes, holes, lumps, bumps, anything that don't look right. So you may find one bit of skin one place looks normal, somewhere else it doesn't. So that's another thing to look for. Feathers, feather condition, make sure they're all good. Hold the bird up against the light, extend the wing, and you want to check down the shafts of each feather and look for little mites and stuff like that. You can't miss them. I mean, if you're not sure, you can always use a magnifying glass, but make sure there's some kind of light behind them because you may not see them. And they're not always under the wing feather either. They can be anywhere, but a lot of the time that's where you will see them first for the mites. You need to check the eyes, the eyelids, the nostrils. You're looking on the nostrils, you're looking for blockages or any kind of nasal fluids, anything like that. Or sometimes you can actually find that the nostrils are closed up completely where they're not formed properly. So that's another thing as well. You may find a bird which is open mouth breathing because that's the only way it can breathe. You need to check the vent area, which is where the bird expels its droppings. You need to check, make sure it's not dirty, make sure it's not yellow, green, or sticky, or they've got lots of poo clustered up around there, or it's constipated. You'll know when something's wrong. It should be nice and clear. You need to check their toenails. Make sure they're not too long. Remember, birds do need toenails, and I've seen people trim them back so far that they bleed, and they can almost bleed to death. You shouldn't need to trim them back that much. They need toenails to grip. They need those toenails, so you shouldn't cut them back too far. The colour of the toenails as well can be important. If you get if the bird doesn't have much yellow in its body colours or anything like that, or the feathers, you may find that yellow toenails can actually be symptoms of, I believe it's definitely liver, but possibly pancreas as well. So the liver and pancreas problems. So it's something to be aware of too. You need to check their palms. Now, if you look at some of the photos that I'll be posting now, you will see a bird which has bumblefoot on both feet. This bird was acquired. It had scaly mites. It had all the legs and all the skin was terrible, and it eventually died from that anyway, which is quite sad. I got it too late to treat, and the bumblefoot was so bad. It's basically like a cyst. It's inside and it's full of pus inside the palm of their feet, and that can be treated, but you need to get the pus out first, and then treat the bird with antibiotics to make sure that no infections spread basically. Dehydration, I've covered that. Weight loss, check beak. Yeah, another thing as well is check the beak as well. Something you might need to open up the mouth, make sure that there's no yellow pussy stuff in there, or cuts, scrazes, any foreign bodies or lodgers or in there, such as insects building up. Now, normally when you find some yellow pus in there, it can be usually one of two things. Trichomoniasis, other name is canker, and the other one is candida. Now, those two, candida and canker, are often mixed up. People confuse one or the other. As soon as they see the yellow, they think it's canker, but a lot of the time it's not. It's actually candida, and that needs a totally different treatment for that. Let me see what there is on this page. God, I'm running out of room. Yeah, coughing, shaking its head, and vomit, as I've already covered. They are very important things as well. If you see a bird keep shaking its head or keep on constantly wiping its beak on the perches, is another sign that something's wrong. I know what it could be, but we'll cover that a bit later. This is not to tell you what is wrong. This video. This is just to let you know the signs like that there is something wrong. So they're just things to be aware of. Right, transport cages. You want something that's small and secure. Now you can use these. I don't like them personally. Yeah, they've got little holes in there. They're small, but they are safe and they do keep the wind out. But I don't really like them. This is what I like. This is what we built, and it's safe. It has a strong, good, safe handle. It does usually have feet on there, but I've taken them off just to paint the box. It has a clear perspex front with a few holes in there, a few good sized holes, I should say. And the idea of that is because not everybody has transport. I don't have transport anymore. I used to. So if I need to go to the vet and it's midwinter outside, I don't want the bird to be exposed to the elements. So the bird can still breathe through here, which is very important. And it also keeps the wind out, so I can get the bird to and from the vet safely. And I know that if I was carrying it down like that and a cat suddenly jumped up or a bird of prey or something, I don't have to worry because I know the bird's safe. It's being protected. So that's very important. And it's always cleaned. I clean it before and after taking it to the vet, so I know, it's the next bird it goes near is going to be safe. Yeah, make sure you line it. Make sure you line the bottom with clear paper again or plastic, because if you get to the vet and the vet says, "Oh, I want to see a poop sample," rather than sitting there having to wait for ages and ages and ages, the chances are the bird's already pooped, and you can take it out and the vet can look at it straight away. You can do a sample under the scope and see what's going on. So you nearly always want to look at that anyway. Make sure the bird is comfortable and make sure that the cage is breathable. So that is one of the most top important things, that the bird is not cold, not windy, and it can breathe. So you can get the bird to and from the vet safely. You don't want it bouncing around. So, yeah. Right. This is going to conclude this now, but I can't think of anything else to add in this video. So if I do, I'll add it in the comments. For the next one, I'm going to start. The next video will probably be, as I said on the other video, the next one will be identifying the difference between stargazing and I can't even remember what it's called now. It's stargazing and twirling. They're two big different things, but although they're categorized together, they're not. They're completely different, and I'll explain it in as much detail as I can in the next video. So another thing, I haven't organised links yet where you can upload videos or photographs to. So because I'm going to start putting photographs on the end of each video. So just for a spoiler for something for people who want to show off their birds or their aviary. So I'll be doing that. I'm going to add some to this video, so you will see at the end. So it's mainly just for the favourite birds and stuff like that, really. So anyway, I'm going to conclude this video here. Hopefully I've not run out of time, because this only allows me 30 minutes of recording time. I'll see you in the next video, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.